I hated school. So, naturally, I became a teacher. I used to love school until I went to a real one, real school. The first school I ever attended would get labeled today as an alternative school. It implemented the whole language approach to learning, which meant that while there were separate subjects, they would usually all deal with the same topics at the same time. Also, the daily schedule was on tap. There was always plenty of time to play, and there were always scheduled diversions from class activities for the entire school. There's games, school plays, cooking activities. It's a lot. Today, diversions like that would get frowned upon as distractions from schoolwork. Alam niyo noon, parang ang sarap mag-aral. Ano? Hindi ko pa alam nung panahon na yun na meron palang tinatawag na report card at hindi ko iniisip kung mas magaling ba ako sa mga kaklase ko o hindi. Basta, nagpupunta ako sa school kasi nandun yung mga kaibigan ko. Nag-enjoy din kami na sama-sama kaming matuto. So, grade 5 and 6 became my introduction to traditional schooling. And one of the things that struck me immediately was how much everyone cared about scores. And as the new kid, the other kids quickly figured out that I was a little bit of a threat to be the new valedictorian, even though I didn't even know what a valedictorian was. Suddenly, the purpose of schooling was to be ranked as high as possible. School became a competition, and every kid in the running for honors was constantly trying to score higher than the next guy. Everyone was always asking each other, how many points did you get on the test? Parang ganun. The kids who ranked last on the ladder were content with just getting passing scores. This was also the first time I learned about passing scores. Bago ako nag-aaral doon, ang test, you just take the test para lang malaman kung natutunan ko ba yung tinuro ng teacher. Pero nagbago yun nung napunta ako sa traditional na paaralan. Biglang naging pataasan ng score, mga quiz at exam. Tapos minsan, check namin yun. Pero sasabihin lang kung ano yung tamang sagot. Hindi naman pag-uusapan kung bakit kaya nagkamali yung ibang mga estudyante, kung paano pwedeng ayusin yung mga maling pagkakaintindi ng ilan. Basta ito yung tamang sagot. Period. Done. Tapos ang usapan. At parang may dalawang paliwanag lang kung bakit may mga estudyante na bumabagsak. So, teacher, inisip nila, hindi nag-aaral. Para naman dun sa mga estudyante na bumagsak, inisip nila, hindi lang talaga sila matalino. Ayun. That's it. At kung hindi ka naman magtatapos ng may honor, parang ano pang katuturan na mag-aral. High school turned out to be even worse. Everything was a race, and one I personally, I wasn't inclined to participate in. I became overwhelmed with the amount of work. There's so many requirements. School was suddenly about quizzes and homeworks and projects, and it felt like the more I put my attention on those tasks, the less time I actually had to learn things. And because those tasks weren't meant to teach me anything but to test me. And even many, not all, but many of my teachers seemed more interested in rating me than actually teaching me. Everything was about earning points. And the more the focus came to be on earning those points, the more I just hated school. First time yun sa buong buhay ko na naramdaman ko yung pressure na maraming mas magaling sa akin at nahuhuli ako sa kanila at habang lalo akong napag-iiwanan, mas sumasama yung tingin ko sa sarili ko. Hindi din naman masaya kasi napipilitan ka lang na gawin yung mga bagay na pinapagawa sa'yo. Hindi naman pinapaliwanag kung bakit. Basta, gawin mo yun kasi required. At pag hindi mo ginawa ang required, babagsak ka. And apparently, getting a failing grade was the worst thing that could happen to you in school. A couple of months into my first year in high school, I went to the book sale in SM North, which is something I did as often as possible after class. And as I was browsing through the shelves, this tiny book caught my eye. Its title was The Underachieving School by John Holt. I opened it, and the first chapter I saw was titled Schools Are Bad Places for Children. I swear, the time it took me for me to walk over to the cashier and put my money down, you could not have captured it with a high-speed camera. So I took the book home, I started reading. When I was going through the pages of this book, I could feel my insides screaming. And every page I kept thinking, yes, 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 I'm not abnormal. There's nothing wrong with me. Everything I was feeling about school, someone had already said and written about decades before me. It was like a warm hug. It was vindicating and liberating. I swear it changed my life. So there was no moment of epiphany when I decided that teaching was going to be my thing. I just knew that the way school was being designed was probably damaging a lot of kids more than helping them. And all I knew was I can do better than many of the teachers that I had met. And make no mistake, I also had the privilege of learning from some truly amazing teachers along the way. But it was always the teachers who cared more about me as a person than about my grade and how well I was performing in class. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be someone who cared. I wanted to make learning fun. I wanted to remind my students not to think about their grades, but to focus on just learning things. I wanted to teach them that failing is not the enemy as long as you're giving it your all. I wanted to teach them that nothing is a waste of time if you're really learning something. And I wanted to lead with love. And if it was at all possible, I wanted to leave no one behind. Well, except me. I have had the privilege of meeting some truly amazing people in my classrooms, and I've managed to keep track of some of them through social media. I silently celebrate milestones in their lives. Some of them became good friends that I still keep in touch with. Some of them have gone on to make names of themselves in their own fields. Some of them even saved my life. That's a story for another day. And some left my classrooms and never looked back. One of the hardest parts about being a teacher is making sure that when your students leave your classrooms for the last time, they don't need you anymore. You let these people take up space in your heart, knowing that in a matter of months, you will need to let them go. And you push them with love to make sure that they will never need to look back. But some do. Some do, and those moments are really precious to me. And so all I can say is to all the students I've ever had, I hope you learned something. And I hope it was worth it.